First Contact Protocol. Commander Alexandra Chen watched the holographic display with unblinking focus, her face illuminated by the blue glow of 1,000 stars. The massive alien fleet appeared as crimson markers against the backdrop of space, steadily advancing toward Earth's outer defense perimeter. 50 ships, then 100, then 200. The count continued to rise as the system's long-range sensors detected more vessels emerging from what the science team called fold space, a method of faster-than-light travel humanity had theorized, but never successfully implemented. Status report, she commanded, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Lieutenant Commander Okafor's fingers danced across his console. 273 vessels of varying classes. Based on their energy signatures, we're looking at technology at least a century beyond our conventional systems. Chen nodded. Conventional was the key word. What waited in Earth's orbital platforms and scattered throughout the Sol system was anything but conventional. Time to intercept. At their current velocity, they'll reach the Neptune defense line in 6 hours. The strategic command room of the orbital platform Athena fell silent. For generations, humanity had prepared for this moment. The discovery of the Arcturus signal in 2087 had confirmed what many had long suspected. Earth was not alone in the universe. But unlike the hopeful messages sent into space during the 20th century, the Arcturus signal had been a warning from a dying civilization. They are coming. They take. They consume. They expand. Prepare or perish. Humanity had chosen to prepare. Activate Helios Protocol, Chen ordered. Deploy the Sentinel. From a hidden hangar on Europa, a single vessel emerged. Sleek and obsidian, it appeared almost primitive compared to Earth's gleaming defense fleet. But appearances were deceiving. The Sentinel represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity, a fusion of reverse-engineered alien technology from crashed scout ships and humanity's own relentless innovation. As Chen observed the deployment, Admiral William Hayes entered the command center, his weathered face showing the strain of 3 decades leading Earth's defense forces. "So they finally found us," he said, standing beside Chen. "Yes, sir. The Arcturus warning gave us 70 years. I hope it was enough." Hayes gazed at the display. The Astraea Imperium. They've conquered 14 known systems in the last century. Their standard procedure is to demand surrender, strip mine habitable worlds of resources, and enslave the population. "Not this time," Chen replied. The Sentinel accelerated to impossible speeds, crossing the vast distance to the approaching fleet in minutes rather than hours, a testament to the quantum drive that powered it. As it approached the alien armada, it transmitted on all frequencies in over 1,000 languages that human linguists had deciphered from intercepted communications over the decades. "This is Earth Defense Command. You are entering restricted space. State your intentions." The response came quickly, broadcast in perfect English, evidence they had been studying humanity for some time. A towering figure appeared on the main screen, its body covered in gleaming scales that shifted color with each movement. Multiple arms, 6 in total, moved in unsettling synchronization as it spoke. "I am Grand Sovereign Sex Terath of the Astraea Imperium. Your world has been selected for integration into our glorious empire. Surrender your resources and prepare your population for processing. Resistance would be unfortunate." Chen exchanged a glance with Hayes, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Grand Sovereign Sex Terath," Chen responded, stepping forward so the transmission would capture her image. "I am Commander Alexandra Chen of Earth Defense Command. We have a message for the Astraea Imperium." She paused, letting the tension build. "Stay away from Earth. This is your only warning." The alien scales flashed crimson. Anger, the xenobiologists would later confirm. "You dare threaten the Imperium. Your primitive species cannot possibly." "This is not a threat," Chen interrupted. "It is simply information. Stay away from Earth." She signaled to cut the transmission. The alien fleet's response was predictable. 5 destroyer-class vessels broke formation, accelerating toward the lone Sentinel. "They're powering weapons," Okafor reported. "Sentinel is initiating Prometheus Protocol," another officer announced. On the display, the small Earth vessel suddenly emitted a pulse of energy, unlike anything the command center's instruments could properly measure. Space itself seemed to ripple around the Sentinel, as if reality was being rewritten at a fundamental level. The 5 approaching destroyers simply stopped. Not damaged, not destroyed, just frozen in space, as if time itself had ceased to flow within their hulls. "By all the stars," Hayes whispered. The alien fleet halted its advance immediately. Another transmission came through, this time with Zex-Tereth scales pulsing with blues and violets. Confusion, perhaps fear. "What technology is this?" "Such manipulation of space-time requires energy levels no civilization should possess." Chen didn't respond to the question. Instead, she simply said, "As stated, stay away from Earth. We have existed in peace. We wish to continue existing in peace. Violation of Sol system boundaries will result in consequences. You cannot possibly maintain such a defense. The energy requirements alone." The Sentinel released another pulse. This time, one of the frozen destroyers began to fold inward, compressing as if being crushed by an invisible hand. Within seconds, the massive warship had been reduced to a sphere no larger than a small asteroid. Silence dominated the channel. "You have 24 Earth hours to remove your fleet from this system," Chen stated calmly. "After that time, we will consider your presence an act of war." The transmission ended. "They're regrouping," Okafor reported. "Energy signatures suggest they're preparing for a coordinated attack." Chen had expected nothing less. For a species that had built an empire on intimidation and conquest, backing down at the first sign of resistance would be unthinkable. "Activate the Sol network," she ordered. Throughout the solar system, devices that had lain dormant for decades hummed to life. Built into asteroids, buried beneath the surfaces of moons, and hidden in the atmospheres of gas giants, humanity had created a web of interconnected quantum field generators, each individually limited, but collectively capable of reshaping the fundamental forces of physics within their sphere of influence. As the Imperium fleet launched its attack, the network activated. What happened next would be recorded in the histories of 1,000 worlds, as the moment the galactic balance of power forever changed. The laws of physics that the Imperium's weapons and ships relied upon simply altered. Energy weapons dispersed harmlessly. Matter-antimatter drives failed to produce thrust. Navigation systems reported impossible readings. In the confusion, the Sentinel multiplied. First 2 identical ships, then 4, then 16, then hundreds, each one a perfect quantum duplicate, each one seemingly as real and solid as the original. "How are they reacting?" Hayes asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "They're attempting to retreat," Okafor reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. 2 of their capital ships have collided due to navigation failure. Their fleet formation is breaking apart. The Sentinel and its duplicates pursued the retreating aliens to the edge of the solar system, herding them like a shepherd with frightened sheep. A final message was broadcast to the Imperium fleet. "We told you once. We won't tell you again. Earth is off limits." As the last alien ship flowed into fold space, the duplicates of the Sentinel vanished, leaving only the original to return to Europa. In the command center, the celebration was tempered with the knowledge that this was likely only the beginning. "They'll be back," Hayes said quietly. "Not tomorrow, perhaps not for years, but they'll be back. An empire doesn't survive by accepting defeat." Chen nodded. "And we'll be ready." The Helios Protocol worked exactly as designed. "At what cost?" Hayes gestured to a secondary display showing power readings throughout the system. "The energy expenditure nearly drained our reserves, if they had pressed the attack." "But they didn't," Chen replied. "And now they believe we can do it again at will." Hayes studied his protege with newfound respect. Perception as a weapon. The oldest strategy in the book. Sometimes the oldest strategies are the best ones, Chen said with the hint of a smile, especially when backed by technology your enemy can't comprehend. As the command center returned to normal operations, Chen couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. Humanity had just announced its presence to the galactic community in the most dramatic way possible. The message had been delivered. Stay away from Earth. The question now was, who would listen, and who would be foolish enough to test humanity's resolve again? The silent boundary. Grand Sovereign Zextereth's scales had settled into a muted gray, a sign of deep contemplation among the Salgathi species. The Imperium's High Council chamber, carved from a single massive crystal of unknown origin, amplified every sound to ensure that words spoken here carried the weight they deserved. "Explain to me," Zextereth said, each word precisely enunciated, "how a fleet of 273 warships, a force that has subjugated entire star systems, was driven away by a single planet." Admiral Vex Moreth, his scales flickering between defensive orange and shameful blue, stepped forward. The visual record of the encounter with Earth played on the holographic display between them. "The humans possess technology that defies our understanding," the Admiral explained. "They manipulated fundamental forces in ways our scientists claim should be impossible without energy sources greater than a star." The science minister, a willowy figure with translucent skin revealing complex organ systems beneath, nodded in agreement. The energy requirements to create such spatial distortions would be astronomical. No planetary civilization should be capable of such feats. "And yet," Zextereth said, "here we are." The display shifted to show the small human vessel, the Sentinel, multiplying into hundreds of identical ships. Another impossibility, according to all known laws of physics. "Is it possible," asked another council member, "that what we witnessed was merely an illusion? A sophisticated deception? The 5 destroyers we lost would suggest otherwise." Admiral Vex Moreth replied bitterly. 3,000 crew members. Gone. Silence fell over the council chamber. The Astraea Imperium had expanded relentlessly for 7 centuries, encountering minimal resistance. The few civilizations technologically advanced enough to pose a challenge had been strategically isolated and undermined before military action was ever taken. It was a strategy that had proven flawless. Until now. "We need more information," Zextereth decided. "Send observer vessels. Keep them beyond the orbit of their outermost planet. The humans demonstrated awareness of our presence long before we reached their inner system," the Admiral cautioned. "Their detection capabilities are concerning. Nevertheless, we must learn more. This Earth represents either the greatest threat or the greatest opportunity the Imperium has encountered in generations." 3 cycles later, a stealth vessel approached the Sol system, using technology that had successfully evaded the sensors of a dozen other advanced civilizations. Admiral Kraz Thar personally commanded the mission, his reputation for caution and precision making him the ideal choice for such a delicate operation. The ship maintained a trajectory that kept it far from the established planets, instead using its advanced sensors to passively observe the system from a distance that the Admiral believed would keep them safe from detection. He was wrong. Exactly 17 minutes after entering the outer boundary of the system, alarms blared throughout the vessel. "Energy surge detected," the sensor officer reported. "Origin everywhere." On the display, a web of energy connections became visible throughout the system, linking planets, moons, and seemingly empty regions of space in a complex pattern. "It's some kind of network," the science officer observed in awe. "The entire system is connected." Before Krasthar could order a retreat, a human voice, calm and measured, came through the communication system. "Astraea Imperium vessel, you have entered Earth-protected space. Your stealth technology has been logged and neutralized. Maintain your current position." Krasthar froze. How had they been detected? More importantly, How were the humans communicating directly through the ship's supposedly secure systems? A small vessel appeared beside them, seemingly materializing out of nowhere. Unlike the Sentinel that had confronted the fleet, this ship was clearly designed for diplomacy rather than combat, elegant and gleaming silver. This is Commander Alexandra Chen of Earth Defense Command. Admiral Krasthar, you are invited to a diplomatic exchange. One representative may board our vessel. The fact that they knew his name and rank sent ice through Krasthar's blood. The Imperium's intelligence protocols were supposed to be impenetrable. How should we respond, Admiral? His second-in-command asked nervously. Krasthar considered his options, but in truth, there was only one logical choice. I will go. Maintain position and alert the Sovereign if I do not return within one planetary rotation. The diplomatic vessel's interior defied the Admiral's expectations. Rather than the sterile, utilitarian design common to military craft, it featured organic curves and surprisingly comfortable accommodations. Commander Chen greeted him personally, a small human female with features that suggested a blend of Earth's varied ethnicities. Admiral, welcome aboard the Envoy. Would you prefer to converse in your native language or continue in Standard Imperial? How are you doing this? Krasthar demanded, abandoning protocol. The translation, the detection, all of it. Chen smiled. Perhaps it would be easier to show you. A door opened, revealing not another chamber, but what appeared to be an observation deck with a transparent ceiling offering a view of space. As Krasthar approached cautiously, the view shifted, zooming outward to show the entire Sol system from above the galactic plane. Lines of energy connected everything, not just planets and moons, but thousands of points throughout space. It was as if the entire system had been enclosed in a vast, invisible web. What you're seeing is a simplified representation of the Nexus, Chen explained. We've been building it for 60 years. Impossible, Krasthar breathed. The resources required. We had motivation, Chen replied. The Arcturus civilization warned us about the Imperium before they were destroyed. We decided to be ready. The display zoomed further out, revealing similar webs around nearby star systems, none as complex as Sol's, but clearly built on the same principles. You've expanded beyond your system, Krasthar realized with growing horror. How many worlds? Enough, Chen said simply. But we're not conquerors, Admiral. Unlike the Imperium, we don't seek to dominate other species or strip their worlds. We simply wish to exist without threat. The display returned to the view of local space. Chen gestured to a seat at a small table where refreshments had appeared. The Sovereign sent you to assess our capabilities. Here's what you need to know. Earth and its colonies can defend themselves against any force in the galaxy. We do not exaggerate this claim. What your fleet witnessed was a fraction of what we can do if truly threatened. Krasthar's military mind raced with implications. If what you say is true, why haven't you expanded further? Why not conquer the Imperium itself? Chen's expression remained placid. Because that is not who we are. Humanity nearly destroyed itself multiple times before reaching the stars. We learned our lessons the hard way. She placed a small device on the table between them. It projected the image of a boundary line extending in a rough sphere around Earth's territory. This is our proposal. The silent boundary. The Imperium agrees to never cross this line with military vessels. In return, we will not interfere with Imperium activities beyond it. A simple arrangement. And if we refuse? Chen's eyes met his. Then we activate the Nexus at full capacity. The laws of physics within 10,000 light-years would be rewritten. Fold space travel would become impossible. Communication between Imperium worlds would fail. Your empire would collapse within a generation. Isolated planets unable to maintain the technology needed for survival. The casual way she described the end of a civilization that had stood for centuries sent a chill through Krasthar's body. You would doom trillions to suffering. No, Admiral. You would, by forcing our hand. We offer peace. We prefer peace, But we will ensure our survival at any cost. For the first time in his long military career, Krasthar understood true defeat. Not the loss of a battle or even a war, but the fundamental recognition that his civilization had encountered something it could not overcome through force. "I will convey your terms to the sovereign," he said finally. Chen nodded. "We know you will, and we know they will accept." 1 month later, the Treaty of Seoul was signed. Representatives from the Imperium arrived not with warships, but with a single diplomatic vessel. The terms were simple. The silent boundary would be respected by all Imperium forces, and in return, humanity would share certain non-military technologies that would benefit the medical and agricultural sectors of Imperium worlds. As news spread throughout the galaxy, other civilizations that had lived in fear of the Imperium's expansion began to reach out to Earth. A new galactic order was forming, one where the mysterious capabilities of humans served as a check against the ambitions of older, more aggressive species. In her office aboard the orbital platform Athena, Commander Chen reviewed the latest reports from the boundary monitoring stations. "They're keeping their distance," Admiral Hayes noted, studying the same data. "Even their scientific vessels are maintaining a respectful gap from the boundary." "Fear is a powerful motivator," Chen replied, "as is curiosity. They'll be analyzing every scrap of information, trying to understand how we did what we did." Chen smiled. "Let them try. The beauty of the Nexus is that it operates on principles they won't discover for centuries." Hayes lowered his voice, despite the room being secure. "How long can we maintain the illusion?" The Sentinel's duplication was holographic. The spatial distortions were temporary and nearly drained our reserves. If they had pressed the attack. They didn't, Chen reminded him. And by the time they realize the full truth, the Nexus will be completed. And will it actually do everything we claimed? Chen's expression grew serious. "That's the question, isn't it? The theoretical models suggest yes, but theory and practice aren't always aligned." "A bluff within a bluff," Hayes mused, "using their fear of the unknown against them." "The oldest strategy in the book," Chen replied, echoing their earlier conversation. "And sometimes the most effective." Beyond the window of her office, Earth turned slowly against the backdrop of stars, a blue marble that had just reshaped the power dynamics of a galaxy. Not through overwhelming force, but through a simple message that no species dared to test. Stay away from Earth. For now, at least, the message had been received.